We're on a philosophy roll. Bonnie, did you want to come out and say a few words? Yeah. Please do. Yeah. Bonnie Gray, also part of the philosophy department at HAU.
Paul here. Well, a lot of you are involved with EKU, and you know that there are a lot of things that come from the Vice President for Academic Affairs office and other high offices that very often are sort of unbelievable. And sometimes it's a little hard to tell whether it really came from there or it didn't really come from there. So anyway, in about 1986, Bob started writing parodies of some of these memos that would come from important offices. Well, in cleaning out my office recently, when I retired, I found a folder marked the Culpeper papers. And so I sat down with it and, just started laughing. I don't think I have a complete set here. You probably do. But anyway, I put what I had in this folder. So it starts out with a memo, the real memo, and then the parody. And I think right now, there's a lot of things going on at the university and around the state in higher education that really deserves a parody. One of my favorites is the way to solve the so-called problem of not having enough students graduate in 4 years or 5 years or 6 years, having to take 128 credit hours. And so the way we solve that is we reduce the number of hours required for a diploma to 120. And I'm going to be very interested to see if that improves anything. My worry is it only keeps the students out of the important things they might be taken for those 8 hours. But anyway, I thought I'd do some short stuff here. And this is a memo from John Rowlett, who at the time it's dated April 29th, 1986. He was Vice President for Academic Affairs. Now, I think it's useful to know that the area of expertise from which he came to the office was industrial arts. Okay, he was a good builder of things. So the subject of this memo was classrooms, lecture rooms, laboratories. This morning, I visited a lecture room and found a lectern that may very well date back to the days of the normal school. My concern is not with the age of the lectern, but with its condition. The top is broken loose, the molding intended to hold the professor's notes is missing, finishing nails and splinters protrude in several places. In addition, a number of the lights in the room are not working. I will see to it that the lectern is replaced and that the lighting problem will be solved. But this is just one room in one building. If there are persistent, unsolved, or unresolved problems in the classrooms, lecture rooms, and laboratories where you teach, please write me about them. I will see to it that these problems are brought to the attention of the appropriate individuals, and we will see what can be done to resolve them. I cannot help you in solving these problems if I don't know about them. Now, when one reads this, one might ponder whether this really came from the academic vice president, insofar as it just seems to be a little bit trivial. But it was real. Okay. To the cotton-picking field hands, Eastern Kentucky plantation. From Colonel Chauncey B.H. Culpeper. 31st December 1862. Subject: garden tools, smokehouses, This morning, through cool mist laced with the scent of jasmine, I rode Sally out past the smokehouse beyond Mammy's kitchen, and I happened to notice a hoe leaning against one of the outhouses, serving the back row of cabins just outside of the watermelon patch. This noble instrument of honest labor, how much good the hoe has done, how much it has brought to the owners of this sacred soil as we observe it in constant and profitable use may very well date back to the days when the oldest of you began your employment here. My concern is not with the age of the hoe, but with the condition. The head of the hoe is dangling from the handle. The upper part of the handle, the area designed to give the field hand a firm and comfortable grip, is warped and dented. Splinters protrude menacingly at odd angles from the handle. In addition, the outhouse against whose door the hoe is leaning does not even have so much as a quarter-moon window cut. Lighting is essential for the proper use of the corn cob. Instead of following normal procedure in effect here at Eastern Kentucky Plantation and asking Simon Legree to take charge of the situation and correct this deplorable state of affairs, I myself, Colonel Chauncey B.H. Culpepper, in order to give you an earnest of my concern for your welfare, will personally see to it that the broken hoe is replaced and that not just a quarter-moon window is cut but a half-moon. But this is just one outhouse. You're just one of the many clusters of cabinets. If there are persistent, unresolved problems in the outhouses and also in the smokehouses, where they are different from the outhouses, I will see to it that these problems are brought to the attention of the appropriate individual, even if that means redefining Simon Legree's position as field manager so that he can apply for it. I think the problem is serious enough for me to cancel a trip to New Orleans, where I'm scheduled to attend a meeting of plantation owners studying alternatives to the present employment structure of the plantation system, and for me to work with Mr. Legree toward a solution to the problem. Since I do not use the outhouses, however, I cannot help you in solving these problems if I don't know about them. The flavor of it, but these were extremely well anticipated once they started rolling off the presses, and we really appreciate your humor in not only this but many other contexts.
Mr. Doug Whitlock, please come up here. Hey, round of applause! Keep the energy going!
I had intended to come up here and try to be funny, but all the really funny people are down here, so I currently hold one of those allegedly elevated offices. I feel compelled to make somewhat of a rebuttal when the plantation papers were written. And by the way, this hat and this maroon shirt with palm trees is the closest I could come. Chauncey Culpepper outfit. But at the time that that those papers were written, I was just a mere cattleman on the plantation, and I always assumed that Chauncey Culpepper, and you'll have to confirm this, Bob, was a fine Southern gentleman named Henry Thunderbird. No? Oh, John was Chauncey. Oh, I'm sorry. But for those of you that knew him, Joanne and I were just down there weekend before last for his granddaughter's wedding. And,
that was John. Henry was Jefferson Davis.
Jefferson Davis. Well, Bob, a lot of people wonder why it is that Joanne and I will be married 43 years in October. And a lot of people wonder why it is that I consistently refer to her as my first wife. Because of you. First wife, Sybil's over here representing the wives. This is sort of like representative democracy. If we're all here, we'd have to have a bigger tax. Bob and Bonnie and I go back to the time of the gentleman who was president of Eastern Kentucky University. But before I get to that, there's something truly wrong with this being a roast. I cook a little bit, and I know you roast beef, you bake ham. Bob Martin was the president when I first started working at Eastern. It was a great honor for me to study at Dr. Martin's feet. He had these great old big feet, and a whole bunch of us could study around him. And he said one time, he said, y'all remember, a faculty member, particularly a department chair, is someone who thinks otherwise. And I never understood that, and then I met Bob. And then another time he said, and I've made this mistake a time or two, but I don't intend to do it again. Don't hire any ex-preachers. And I wondered about that one too, and then I thought about Bob. Oh, you still? But the other thing that really has me greatly puzzled tonight is we are observing his 80th birthday. Well, folks, he has been the parliamentarian of the Faculty Senate for a long time. Somebody challenged him once on Robert's Rules of Order, and he said, "No, it hell, I wrote it." The book was written in 1876. But I do have to be a little bit serious. And I think I may have said the same thing about Bonnie at one time. Any institution, if it's going to stay on track and stay on course and not wobble too much, has got to have people who act as its conscience. And Bonnie did that. And Frank, you've done that. But I don't know as I could point to anybody who has been more the conscience of Eastern Kentucky University for over these many years than Bob Miller. And I'm proud to count him as a friend, and whether or not he was shipping case doesn't really matter.